Hey, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to the Truth Hour show. I usually talk about geopolitical stuff, but I'm gonna do things a little bit differently. The sports arena is huge, so I'm gonna talk about some sports today. My main topic is Lamar Jackson and how Shannon Sharp, aka the Southern Sambo, and Stephen A. Smith, the Northern Coon, um, go out of their way, and this is a pattern. It started with Antonio Brown, now it's Lamar Jackson. All of the black players who aren't part of the go ahead narrative, the good old boy game or play, get overly criticized. Number one, about their money that they received, and number two, about their play set, because it's not the conventional way, quote unquote, not the white way. And these two Sambos understand that, and they overly criticize these guys. They did it with Antonio Brown consistently because he was defiant. He wasn't. He was rebellious. He wasn't playing to the system. And Shannon, Mr. Coon, Mr. Southern Coon, that boy be cooning so hard. And he's overly critical of black outspoken players, which is ridiculous. I peeped that shit. I've been peeped that shit. And we already know about Stephen A. And he started with AB. They criticized him when he called the Raiders executive branch or Raiders upper echelon office management, from Mike Mayock to John Gruden to that owner and president, all in between, called them crackers. And he did that because they were racist. And then a year later, you saw all the emails that came between all of them and all the racist, anti-black racism that they were saying. Boom. And AB being not being held down and speaking out, uh, Shannon Sharp will be overly critical, and AB on the shop called him out for his buffoonery with the Hennessy and the backwoods, basically like being a bad example to the kids and shit. Yeah, I got the backwood, the head dog. I'm like, bro, you look like a coon, bro, like a fucking buffoon. You're like trying to, I'm blackening it up. No, bro, you're niggerizing it. You're not being down. You're setting a bad example, like AB said. But yeah, you have the nerve to criticize me because because I'm myself, because I stand out, because I don't follow the toe in line, because I ain't playing the good old boy system, and I'm not being a coon like you. And I'm glad he called that shit out. And now again with Lamar Jackson, first off, Stephen A. a couple weeks ago talking about he don't deserve the money he got. Are you out of your mind? If anything, he's underpaid. Not only with the excitement, he's an MVP of the league. And if he wasn't hurt those last 2 years, they would have won the division. In Burrowhead, quote unquote, when Joe Burrow was beating Pat Mahomes, and people were talking about Joe Burrow as the best quarterback in the league, Lamar was leading that division and handling Burrow. It's just Lamar got hurt and the contract dispute that they refused to give him the money for. Because if you know what I know, the backstory behind Lamar even being with Baltimore has to do with Kaepernick and all of that backlash that they were receiving. So they had to have a black face to be like, hey, look, we got a black guy, because the whole NFL was getting so much heat because of racism. So there's a whole backstory to this. And so of course, being the coon that Stephen A is and the do boy for white power that he is, he gladly, hey, Lamar, what's that money? Remember, Disney, Walt Disney was a hardcore pedo and racist, anti-black white supremacist. It's hardcore. So that same pattern seeps its way even to today, and it's just ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Is he worth the money? And then even Lamar balling. Lamar has been completing over 70% of his passes, and they would have won both games if his receivers make plays, catch the damn ball. What the hell? How you got 8 drops in a game, and 3 of them would have been for touchdowns, and you would have blown out the Steelers 31, and they wouldn't have scored that 17 points. That 17 points came out off of the momentum of the drives not going to fruition. So it would have been 31-3 or 31-10 instead of 17-10, and they lose. Bro, yeah. My God. And I gotta see it consistently. Shannon's old coon ass. Shannon, he's been consistent the whole year. It was one game. I'm like, bro, he just played a virtuoso against people who were saying Detroit was the best team in the league, and they had beaten Patrick Mahomes. Remember, on opening night. They had only lost one game, like, it hadn't gotten blown out. Like, yo, and people were talking about Jared Goff as the MVP and talking about that defense was stout, and he shredded it. It annoys me when I see blatant coonery, bro. Blatant do boyness to white power. Blatant henchmanness to white power, to their paymasters. And I can't sit back and not call that shit out because it's so egregious, bro. It's so egregious. And I just had to say that, man. I'll be honest with you. This is my prediction. I think Ravens go to the Super Bowl. I think they dethrone Patrick Mahomes and beat Burrow in the playoffs, and beat the Dolphins and the Bills if they get there, and the Jaguars too. I think they go all the way to the Super Bowl this year. I think Lamar has a real chance of winning MVP again and showing everybody this is my league. You know what I'm saying? I'm straight from South Florida. I got the hair long. I ain't conforming. I talk how I talk. I don't try to talk proper and be all assimilated. That's the problem that Shannon has. Shannon has always been a white ass kissing nigga because he's from the South and he never had that knowledge himself. He ain't from. See, when you were from South Florida and shit, and back when we were from South Florida, not Miami now. Miami now has been co-opted and it's coolish and shit. But let's talk about Miami back then, South Florida back then, with the real niggas over Lamar and prior to Lamar, Dreads Golds. You have a certain air about you. You come from that Seminole War lineage, basically. The ones that gave Andrew Jackson that work. The ones that got rid of General Dade. That's why Dade County's named after. The Black Seminoles handled the white supremacist American army when they came down there and tried to re-enslave black people, and the Black Seminoles was like, oh hell no, we finna handle y'all boys, and they did that and burnt pretty much all the plantations in Florida. But I digress. When you come from that energy, that revolutionary energy, what that comes from that McDuffie riot energy, you know what I'm saying? That comes from that we don't give a fuck. Like, we finna handle this shit. Like, we real. Like, we call crackers cracker, and they accept that shit. Back then, we got to get that energy back now because it's too much softness now. Because not FBAs and plus the feminization and the lineages and getting passed on. That also is why the University of Miami isn't the University of Miami anymore. You know what I'm saying? It all blends in. But I digress. So it's a certain aura you have, bro. You just know you finna do it. You talk with a certain confidence. That's what Lamar is. Yeah, bro, I just do that shit. Yeah, I do. You know what I'm saying? You just talk with that. You know what I'm saying? You have a certain cadence. You ain't trying to sound like them. You sounding like yourself. I'm me. I do what I want to do. I talk how I want to talk. I dress how I want to dress. I have my hair the way I want to have my hair. That's probably another reason why Shannon don't like Lamar Jackson. Because his cool ass, I got to get me a buzz cut. I got to look presentable. I got to tuck my pants